true crime with strategic eyes.
Strategic back again. First of all, happy Sunday, guys. Thanks for joining me today. I do have a confession to make. I think the hard work that we've been putting in for this vacation, well, it was supposed to be a vacation, but it didn't feel like one. It's finally starting to catch up with me, man. I woke up this morning to take my son to soccer, and I'm starting to get a cold. It really does suck. Like, I'm really getting a cold. So I took some Dayquil. Some people say, oh, go get some rest, strategic. I don't know how to rest. I'm a worker. So I'm going to be here and give you guys 110%. But do know I am starting to feel under the weather. Is it end of season allergies that just feels like a cold, or is it really a cold? I don't know. But we're going to work this out together because I got to cover this story, man. This is a really sad one. This one's out in New York City, in Queens, New York. And first of all, we're going to give big shout out to the NYPD that solved this case in a really reasonable amount of time. But this one's sick, twisted, and very disturbing. And all it does, it plays into the narrative that we discuss time and time and time again on this channel, that some people are beyond rehabilitation. It took me a long time to get to that point in my thought process because I'm a very empathetic person. I want to see the best in people. I don't want to see people being treated like throwaways, but some people are throwaways. And who are those three people? Pedophiles, forcible rapists, and murderers. They are throwaways. Even the murderers who could possibly come out after doing their time and change their life, they still took a life. So why should they have the ability to have a life if they took a life? To me, it's antithetical as to fairness. It's not an eye for an eye. It's kind of like I take something invaluable away from you, and regardless of how much time you get, you still got a slap on the wrist because you still get to live. But whatever. Let's go into the details of this case. Trigger warning, this thing might shock you to your core. Let's do it.
Ran out Wednesday night outside the Lucky Strike bowling alley near the bright lights of Times Square, one of the most highly policed and surveilled spots in the city. Sources say investigators had been tracking the suspected murderer's movements through Manhattan all day. He'd allegedly used the victim's credit card at various places, including a downtown movie theater. Then eagle-eyed officers spotted the 42-year-old walking toward Broadway theaters and arrested him without incident on West 44th Street around 5:30. This woman, who's unhoused, telling me in Spanish, he walked by and threw me $5 with police after him.
There was something that I never liked about him.
Police set up a dragnet across the city, watching his last known address, this Bronx men's shelter. The ex-con was reportedly seen there right before the murders of two Queens grandparents.
The way he carried himself, he was always like trying to intimidate.
However, Monday, McGriff apparently charmed his way inside this house on 254th Street.
All right, let me give you a quick synopsis as they're about to get into it. But, they're kind of like, they started at the end and now they're getting to the beginning. I was hoping they started at the beginning and then we'll meet them at the end. So what happened? This guy is an ex-con who also is a level 3 ex-offender. Right? He has an extensive record of violence. Aside from essaying people, he has an extensive record of violent crimes. Why is he on the streets? I don't know. We live in a forgiving society that seems to have more mercy, more grace for the bad guys than for the victims, right? So anyway, he's walking around this nice, quaint Queens neighborhood. And if you're not from New York has its own suburbs, and you can find those suburbs in the outskirts of every borough. Queens, except for Manhattan. The whole thing is just a metropolis. But when you get to Queens, Brooklyn, and the Bronx and Staten Island, you can find suburbs just like suburbs in your town, no matter what state you're in. They look exactly the same, just a little bit more densely packed with houses. Hit that like button, please. We got 50 people watching right now, only 18 likes. You got to help me out here. All right. So he's knocking on doors, asking people if he could charge his phone in their house. Everybody's like, no, you're not coming out. Sorry. One person opened their door and said, nah, you can't come in here. He then sees this grandfather outside and he says, hey, can I come into your house and charge my phone? The grandfather, being a nice individual, said, you can't come into my home. Oh, I'm sorry. Take the thumbnail off. I think I had the wrong thumbnail. My apologies. Sorry. No wonder. My apologies, guys. Here's a thumbnail that I wanted to put up. Aki just reminded me. We had a Charlie Kirk thumbnail up there. My apologies. All right. I just changed it. So the person says, the grandfather says, you can't come into my house, but I'll take your phone and I'll go charge it for you and you can wait outside. That was very kind of him to offer to do that. Well, that was the worst thing for him to do, because I guess they'll start talking out soon what happened.
In Bellerose, surveillance video shows the victim, Frank Olton, welcoming who police say is the suspect inside. Then 5 hours later, leaving as the murder scene went up in flames. The 76-year-old man found fatally stabbed, his 77-year-old wife Maureen burned to death. Investigators say the level 3 sex offender was on parole at the time and wanted for 2 recent crimes in Manhattan, including an attempted robbery at this Harlem GameStop on West 125th Street in July.
The guy came in with a gun and he tried to force her into the back room, and he made her aware that the gun was fake, and she wound up chasing him out the store.
From here, the suspect was taken back to Queens, where he is being questioned for that horrific double murder earlier this week, and police say charges are pending.
All right, let's go to Fox Now.
We are back here for you this evening. I'm live now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Page. Thanks again for joining us. All right, we want to get now to New York City for a crime update. Real serious story where they are looking for an individual that's accused of killing 2 elderly people. Take a look at who they are looking for. Police have identified the suspect in connection to a house fire attack in Queens that killed an elderly couple. Authorities say they are searching for 42-year-old Jamel McGriff, who is considered to be an armed and dangerous career criminal with a criminal history spanning over 30 years. The police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, today said McGriff went to the Olton home asking for assistance. Surveillance video shows 76-year-old Frank Olton speaking with him outside before allowing him inside. Tisch noted that there was no prior relationship between the suspect and the victims beyond this encounter. According to the FDNY, the fire began on Monday just after 3 p.m. at a home near 200th Street and 87th Drive in Bellerose. Officials say a flame started on the first floor and quickly spread through the house. About 60 firefighters responded and brought the fire under control within an hour. Inside the home, first responders found 76-year-old Frank Olton in the basement, tied to a pole with multiple stab wounds. His wife, 77-year-old Maureen Olton, was found on the first floor with severe burns. The Oltons have lived at that residence for decades and raised their family there. Officials say their son, an FDNY EMT, was alerted to the fire by the home's ADT alarm system and responded to the scene as well. And here's just some more visuals of that suspect, who they are again saying is armed and...
All right, so he was caught. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up Matt Thibodeau, and I think Matt is going to give us a really clear explanation as to this case. Big shout out to Matt Thibodeau. We use him all the time.
42-year-old James McGriff.
Because unfortunately, the news, I think they're purposely not giving us the story the way it needs to be told. Matt Thibodeau is going to give us the story the way it needs to be told. And this is why alternative media is so important. Channels like mine, who attempts to give the voice of the voiceless, Matt Thibodeau, who's doing his thing on TikTok, because we're not sugarcoating it. They're not telling the full level of depravity of what this man did. And that's what we need to know. They're just glossing over like this is just a normal, burglary that turned into arson. That's not what this was. This was barbarity. So now let's listen to Matt Thibodeau.
November 8th, 2025, 42-year-old James McGriff was walking around a Bellerose, Queens, New York neighborhood, knocking on people's doors and asking if he could charge his phone. Most of the people either didn't answer their door. One person actually answered the door and told him no. Now, Jamel ends up walking to an older man who is standing outside, identified as Frank Olton, and he asks him the same question. Frank ends up telling the suspect to hand his phone to him. He would go inside of his house, charge his phone, and bring it right back outside. This is when Jamel pushes Frank to the side, enters the home, and now he is inside the home with Frank as well as Frank's wife Maureen. Mind you, this couple is in their 70s. Now, nearby surveillance video did actually have audio on it of what appears to be Frank telling Jamel, "Get the F out of here." Once inside the home, Jamel remained for about 5 hours. What he was doing in there, I'm going to discuss in a moment. Officials said that after Jamel ended up leaving the Oltons' home, he went straight to Macy's, where he used Frank Olton's credit card to purchase $500 of luxury clothing, but used his own Macy's reward account number with his own name. He was then caught on video at the Regal Union
So
Square.
what that tells me is that this guy was not interested in. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I think happened here. To be honest with you, I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened here. I'm drawing upon my experience, not just as a detective, but also as a person who worked 12 years inside of the New York State Department of Corrections prison system, starting out as a correction officer and then becoming an investigator and a senior investigator in the sex crimes division before becoming a police officer and then a detective in the sex crimes division of my police department. So I've only worked sex crimes my entire career, whether it was investigating sex crimes that happen in a prison system or investigating sex crimes that happen in the streets as a police officer. Only sex crimes. I'm going to tell you what happened. This is from speaking to thousands of parolees and inmates and hundreds of people accused of sex crimes on the streets of my municipality. I'm going to tell you what happened here. This guy was in and out of shelters. This guy had a rap sheet longer than most people's, whatever you want to compare it to. This guy was not making it on the streets. This guy came to the realization that the only place he belonged is in prison. This guy was what we call in New York crashing out. This guy wanted to make sure that he did something that would never allow him to be released from prison again, because every time he showed his arse to us in society, we gave him a second chance, third chance, fourth chance, fifth chance, 40th chance. So he wanted to make sure that he never got out again. Just like JSP just said in the chat, this guy is institutionalized. We think about prison and all of us shudder at the possibility of losing our freedom and not being able to see our families, engage in our hobbies, and just enjoy freedom. For him, that is the only way he knows how to survive in the structured living that institutionalization gives you. Because other than that structured living, what does it give you? Free meals, right? 3 square meals a day, free gym. How many of us pay a gym membership? You get a free gym, free recreation, free education, free TV, free entertainment, free religion. Everything is free. Free healthcare, free dental, free. That's jail. And this man has been in and out of jail his entire life. He doesn't know anything else. And when he's free, he's trying to scramble to find a meal. He's in homeless shelters that don't respect you. You know what you have in prison? You know what the COs do give you? As long as you give it, that they don't give you in these homeless shelters with workers who work in there who are just one step above from homelessness themselves because they don't make any money? Respect. I worked in a prison system. I worked in a medium security, a minimum security, and a maximum security prison. You know what we have in common in all of those prisons? Respect. In a maximum security in some of the toughest prisons in this nation, in New York State, we got some of the toughest prisons in this nation. A CO doesn't look at an inmate and say, yo, get over here, you piece of crap. No, we say, yo, Mr. Johnson, can you come on over here, please, and do this for me? We don't even call him inmate unless you get in the box. When you're in the box, it's when we call you inmate. When you out there in the cells, it's, yo, Mr. Johnson, can you this? Mr. Williams, can you sweep this floor for me, please, man? I appreciate it. Respect. Mutual respect. The inmates call you officer, you call them mister. You new on the unit, you don't know names, they understand. We say, hey, inmate Johnson, inmate, can you do me a favor? Because you don't know nobody. But once you get that unit and you know people, they expect you to call them Mr. Johnson. You expect them to call you officer strategic. Respect is how these institutions function. So he is in jail and he's being respected. so long as he shows respect. Don't get me wrong. He don't show respect. He's going to learn respect. But so long as he shows respect, he's going to get respect. Now he's out in the wild, in the regular world, and he comes into the shelter and there's some dude like, yo, come here, man, you piece of crap. He don't know how to survive. He don't want to live like that. So he decided he's going to crash out. I'm telling you, this is what happened. This guy wanted to make sure that he stayed in prison forever. And in the process, he was going to go out with a bang. And going out with that bang was robbing these people, graping these people, because he said that he essayed both of them. That's what he said. Taking their life and then committing an arson. Things that will result in him getting life without the possibility of parole. And then what did he do after that? He took their identification. He took their money. He went on a spending spree that he knew he was going to get caught on. But he wanted to feel luxury clothes for the last time. He wanted to go to the movies and enjoy a nice movie. He wanted to go do these things before he got caught. He knew he was getting caught. He wanted to make sure he never came out again. Let's keep going.
A movie theater in a recliner watching a movie with tickets purchased again on Frank Olton's credit card. Now, while Jamel is out living it up, spending someone else's money, the Oltons' house is actively on fire. When officers arrived on scene and the fire at the home was extinguished, they ended up finding both Frank and his wife Maureen deceased inside, tied up with wounds consistent with a sharp object. This is when the investigation really started to ramp up and a manhunt was ultimately activated for this man, Jamel McGriff. Jamel was ultimately located and arrested on Wednesday, September 10th, 2025 in Times Square. He was arraigned on Thursday, September 11th, 2025 and is now being held in jail without bail. On Friday, September 12th, 2025, prosecutors stated that Jamel actually confessed to officers what he did. He basically said, "I'll admit it, I did it, I unalived them, I don't give a you-know-what." He also claimed that while he was in the Olton's house for those 5 hours, he was not only physically torturing them, but he says that he was essaying them as well. McGriff is...
This guy does not give a damn. That's why I tell you people, listen, there's so many different people from different backgrounds, etc. Listen, half of these activists that are out here, I'm not hating on activists. Activism is what gives me the freedom to come on this platform and talk to you folks. It's what gives me the freedom to purchase property in a predominantly upper middle class, mostly Caucasian community and be able to do that and nobody stops me. Activism is what made this country great. The way it is now, that we all are equal and we enjoy freedom and this is the best country on the planet. I'm not hating on activists, but it doesn't mean that activists can't be wrong. Many of these activists who activate for people like McGriff don't understand people like McGriff. The good Lord has given me the experience in this life to work with people like Mr. McGriff. My entire adult life, I've been working with people like him. And I'm telling you, I started out my life as a person who probably would have cared about people like McGriff, would have asked the questions like, well, what happened in their life to make them the way they are today? I'm not saying that that's a bad question. We need to know the answer to that question so we can prevent the McGriffs from coming into existence, so we can intercept them when they're young and hopefully help them. But I've also matured, and with age comes wisdom. And wisdom have brought me to the conclusion that some people just can't be helped. Some people don't care about your morality. They don't care about your rules. They don't care about your regulations. They just don't care. And those people need to be removed from our society and excised as though they were a cancer. It's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. Some people are a cancer of our society, and we have to end them. We do. We have to. We have to. This guy just said, I don't give a F. And what's going to be our solution to him saying he doesn't give a F, that he tortured these people, raped these people, burned these people alive, stabbed them to death, all of the above? Our reaction is going to be, we're going to send him exactly where he wants to go. Now, how is that justice? How's that justice? We're going to send him exactly where he wants to be after he did exactly what he wanted to do to get to where he exactly wanted to be. How's that justice? I think the only true justice in a situation like this would be for us to end this man's existence. But we're not going to, because the activists fought long and hard to ensure that he gets to be exactly where he wants to be for the rest of his life, which is exactly what he wants. He did not ask for an attorney. He gave a full confession because he does not need an attorney. He wants to go to jail for the rest of his life. There was no justice here. There is no justice here. Let's keep going.
Described by officers as a career criminal, he is a level 3 SCX offender with a lengthy criminal record stretching 30 years. He was released from prison in 2023 and served 16 years in prison for an armed robbery and is wanted in 2 more armed robberies from this past summer. If convicted, Jamel does face multiple consecutive life sentences for the unaliving of both Frank and Maureen. What do you guys think about this story?
I think it is a miscarriage of justice. I think it is a miscarriage of justice if we allow this person to exist in our society in any capacity, whether it is in prison, free, whatever. It's a miscarriage of justice. Let's keep going. Let's get over to his little perp walk. Take a look at this. First of all, big shout out to the NYPD, those brave officers and very capable detectives out there who work so hard to keep that city safe. And look, they got this guy in record time. Let's check it out.
Jamel, did you kill that couple?
Why'd you do it? Anything you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to say?
Why'd you kill him? Why'd you kill him?
Who's a child molester?
No. Why'd you kill him? The 2 parents of child molesters. So, know your facts, sir. Know your facts. Know your facts.
What do you want to say?
Both of them child molesters. They molested me when I was a little kid, nigga. I just lived on Little Neck Parkway.
Sit down. Let's talk together.
Get your facts straight. I just lived out there as a child molester.
Yeah, this nonsense. There's no evidence of that. He's absolutely 1000% not telling the truth. So in front of the cameras, he says that he used to live in that community, which is not true, when he was a kid, and that they molested him. Total lies. Wow. So these are the crime scene technicians. These are police officers who are actually the designation as detectives, and they're going inside of this precinct to give the evidence that they've packaged up to the case detective so that the case detective can then store it in evidence or take it to the lab for testing. Just explaining to you guys what's happening here.
I'm not with that. No, you're good.
You see them bringing that roll of paper in there. What ends up happening is oftentimes they'll collect the evidence on the scene, just bag it up, and then they'll actually process it, like take pictures of it, more extensive pictures. When they get into the precinct, they'll lay that paper out, and then they'll go ahead and do some further processing of the evidence, especially if the crime scene is not safe, like a structure that was on fire, which is basically where they collected evidence from. The house was set on fire, so probably wasn't structurally safe for them to like be in there long-term processing the evidence. So they probably collected what they wanted to collect, knives, whatever, and then they took it to this precinct, and they're going to further process it at the precinct. Let's keep going.
Guys, listen to me.
are members of the FDNY. They're there to show solidarity because the parents that were those grandparents are the parents of a member of the FDNY. So an FDNY family's members was killed. Basically, his entire family, not his entire family, but like the patriarchs and the matriarch of his family was decimated in one fell swoop. You know, it's very through violent means. It's extremely traumatizing and heartbreaking and horrible what befell this family. So now let's go over to this article and then we'll call it a day. Maniac who allegedly killed, burned elderly New York City couple inside their home makes chilling admission. I don't give a F. The maniac who allegedly slaughtered an elderly Queens couple inside their own home coldly admitted to the horrifying crime while also brazenly claiming he molested them. I'll admit it, I killed them. A repeat criminal Jamel McGriff rather, told police after his Wednesday arrest, according to prosecutors. Let me go ahead and zoom this in so I can read it a little bit better. I don't give a F. I killed them. I burnt the N-words. I molested them, he said. Unbelievable. Mr. McGriff's chilling admission was captured on body cam footage when he was finally busted 2 days after he allegedly tortured Frank and Maureen Olton inside their Bellerose home and went on a shopping spree on their dime. That's a very nice community, by the way, just to let you guys know. But with New York City, you may live in a nice community, but it doesn't, because of how compact New York City is and how densely populated it is. You may live in a nice community. You have high property value. Their homes were worth well over $1 million. That doesn't mean that they're rich. It just means that when they bought their homes, because New York City real estate, it appreciates value so much and so quickly that you might buy a home during an economic downturn or something like that, or you bought your home 30 or 40 years ago. Maybe you paid $100,000 for it. Maybe you paid $200,000-$300,000. In 10 years' time, that $100,000, $200,000 home is now worth $1 million. So all of those homes in that community are worth multitudes of millions of dollars, but most of them were owned by people who moved there many decades ago. So they paid working men's prices for those homes, and now those homes are basically nest eggs, not just for themselves, but for their children. They're going to be passing on generational wealth to their children with the value that they got out of those homes. So anyway, but my larger point, I got sucked into the whole real estate aspect of it, but my larger point is that you live in a nice community, but you can't stop riffraff from coming inside the community, from walking past your homes. That's the thing with New York City. You know, when you live in the suburbs, it's hard for people to get there who don't belong there. You need a car, you need a destination. But in New York City, it's all connected. It's all connected. Anyway, let's keep going. Wearing a white pants, a painter's outfit, McGriff 42 blithely stared ahead as prosecutors recounted the horrifying, shocking details of the sickening crime to a packed Queens courtroom Thursday night. Among the tragic new revelations were the 77-year-old Maureen Olton was still alive when McGriff allegedly set fire to the couple's home on Monday. So he basically burned her alive. Neighbors told the Post that the older woman was bound to her wheelchair. Are you kidding me? She was bound to a wheelchair. Her body was unrecognizable from the burns. Assistant District Attorney John Esposito told the court, adding that she suffered from thermal burns, a fractured larynx, a possible sign of strangulation, and soot in her trachea. Unbelievable. So he strangled her, but he didn't finish the job. Very sad stuff. Frank Olton, 76, had been tied to the pole in the basement before he was stabbed several times, killing him. Prosecutors said McGriff set the fire to the slain man's chest before igniting an inferno upstairs. Sadistic killer who was inside the home for about 5 hours. Give me a second to see what my son wants. What's up? You okay?
Take me to ShopRite.
Okay, give me a second and I'll definitely take you. I'm almost done, son. The sadistic killer, a sadistic killer who was inside the home for about 5 hours, allegedly then went straight to Macy's and bought $500 worth of clothing on a couple's credit card. This dude doesn't even have a home. Where you putting the clothes at, buddy? While registering a bonus points card in his own name, he also pawned off 2 of their cell phones for cash, Esposito said. McGriff also kicked up his feet at the Regal Union Square movie theater to watch Light of the World, a 2D animated story of Jesus, on the Olton's dime, authorities said. Cops used surveillance footage from the theater to track him down in Times Square and cut him off later that day. Or cuff him later that day. Prosecutors said the brutal murders were random, and that video showed the moment that the alleged killer set his sights on Frank, who had been fiddling in his yard with his car at around 10 a.m. There's no way that this could have been avoided. Absolutely no way it could be avoided. McGriff also kicked up his feet at the Regal. Did I just read that? I think I did. Let's keep going. Frank too rejected McGriff, but the convicted, so McGriff had already approached several other homes in the area under the guise of needing a phone charger, but had been rejected, authorities said. Frank too rejected McGriff, but the convicted sex offender allegedly followed him through the home's back door and forcibly entered the home. Get the F out, Frank could be heard telling the suspect. Very sad. Look at that. Very, very, very sad. McGriff did not emerge from the home again for another 5 hours, prosecutors said. The blood-curdling crime has put the otherwise quiet suburban neighborhood on edge, with residents remembering the Oltmans as a welcoming and sweet older couple. This is a wonderful neighborhood, and for everybody here, it just absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific. He is clearly evil. Evil walks this earth. Diane O'Boyle, a neighbor who picked up trash from outside the Oltons' home Friday, said about the suspect. Dominic Vaccaro, the owner of nearby Vaccaro's Pizza, was astounded to learn that McGriff went to see a religious flick after allegedly carrying out the heinous crime. Unbelievable. Let's keep going. How can he go watch a Jesus movie about after what he did? I'm sick. I can't even read. Like, I just don't feel well. You guys hear it in my voice? We're going to finish this up and then we'll call it a day because I feel myself crashing right now. But I got to power through. Because these people deserve it. They deserve their voice to be heard. That's what we do here. We give a voice to the voices. Guys, please hit that like button, support the channel. How can he go watch a Jesus movie after what he did? I thought he would be watching The Conjuring. That more fits what he did, Vaccaro said, referring to the horror series chronicling evil spirit possessions. As for the $500 of clothing McGriff allegedly spent before his arrest, Vaccaro quipped that he'll likely never get the chance to sport it. He's going to be wearing orange for the rest of his life. I like that. So true. The alleged killer has 11 prior convictions, including 4 for violent felonies, prosecutors said. McGriff was on parole following his release from prison in 2023 after serving 17 years of a 20-year sentence for armed robbery and sex crimes. Unbelievable. He was out of prison for more than a year when the State Department Corrections Community Supervisor received word from the NYPD that the career criminal failed to register his address as required on the sex offender registry in 2024. Department spokesperson said, this is the burnt out house. See that? See, it's the family. That's the demon. That's the house. Let's keep going. But instead of being slapped with a parole violation, he continued to walk free until he was busted for the shocking double murder, because they have this whole thing called the More is Less Act in New York, where they don't want to violate people like that. They want to give you chances. Well, these are what happen when you give these people chances. I hope you're watching. I hope you're listening. All the people who want to give these bad guy chances, this is what happened. McGriff was ordered held without bail on 18 counts, including murder, robbery, burglary, kidnapping, arson, identity theft related to the shocking slayings. He is not facing any sex crime related charges. He's due back in court next week. They got to do an autopsy because he might just be crazy, just be saying that. They have to do an autopsy to determine if, in fact, he essayed them. But they should have charged him with him anyway, because that's what he said. That's what he said. Unbelievable. Big shout out to Kirsten Perry. 12 months as a patrol member, says, you the best, strategic. Much love from Vermont. I love Vermont. I need to get up there. I want to get some bullets. Get some bullets. Bullets are too expensive in New York, man. I need to go get me some bullets out of Vermont or PA. One of the two, and they give me some bullets, man. It's too expensive. And in New York, you can't buy bullets. They can't mail them through the mail or nothing like that. Sucks, man. It really does suck. Anyway, this is terrible, terrible, terrible news. My heart go out to the member of the FDNY whose parents were just needlessly slaughtered due to just the archaic laws that protect these bad guys. Big shout out to the NYPD who were able to track this guy down, doing good police work and taking him off the streets. Just wanted to bring this awareness to you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. Let's cue up that outro. Hold up. Let me make sure nobody sent me a super chat. Want to make sure I show love to them. Nope, they did not. I'll see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. Peace.